How to have boundaries after an affair. That's our conversation today. If you have yet to subscribe to our channel, hit the button, do that, because we have so much on infidelity, both for the partner betrayal trauma, the people who have been hurt by this, and also the person who committed the infidelity. So much information to help you subscribe. And if you have a question, put it in the box. We get back to you as soon as possible. Now listen, if there has been an affair, there could be multiple reasons for that, but let me be perfectly clear. All of the reasons are 100% the person who had the affair's issue. It's not because of the marriage. Counseling would be an option, separation would be an option, even divorce could be an option in certain circumstances, but having an affair is not an option for marriage problems. That has to do with the personal character of the person who committed the affair or the circumstances, but it is not the result or in any way to blame or give responsibility to the spouse, okay? Now, I've worked with couples for over 40 years. I've seen thousands of couples with sexual addiction, porn addiction, infidelity, intimacy, anorexia. So this is my wheelhouse. So they come in on Monday, they do a 5-day intensive, and one of the issues that comes up is the spouse wants to know what are gonna be the boundaries around this person or persons, or even the place. You know, maybe they're a doctor and it's all the nurses that they've had sex with, or maybe it's a female salesperson who has a certain clientele that she acts out with. How are we gonna deal with these issues and boundaries, especially if the economics are really important in this situation? So let's first talk about the idea of boundaries. A boundary is not a list of I'm higher than you and you're going to do what I say, because that will set resentment. Boundaries is not in any way a promise that they will not do those behaviors. Boundary doesn't give you any guarantees. Boundaries is a mutual agreement on where things end, where things begin. And it's really best if you do boundaries together. We have a great DVD called Boundaries that can walk you through a lot of this stuff in recovery. It's probably about more than an hour long. So I'm only going to get into a few things here, but if you're struggling with boundaries, I would definitely get that, because you might not have needed them before. You just trusted totally, and you didn't have to guess or think through those things. Okay, what about the cell phone? Okay, what about the emails? What about the texting? What about all of these things? And I've had men and women do all kinds of things trying to kind of keep track of their spouse's behavior and be the little, affair police person, and it can drive you crazy. So first, see if you can negotiate these together. Both the perpetrator of the affair and the spouse get together and say, listen, what boundaries are we agreeing to here? Are you going to see them? Talk to them? Facebook, text, WhatsApp, which really there's no reason to have that app. So what are the expectations going to be here? All right. What about flirting with new people? What are the boundaries going forward with new people? Have those really clearly and see if they can write them down. You want to have these boundaries in writing so that if there's any violation, you can go back to them. The next step of creating boundaries together is that the person who is the violator would also set consequences for themselves if they violate this. If they text that person, you can say a 24-hour rule. If you tell me within 24 hours you're not lying, after 24 hours you are. They tell you, and then they do the consequence that's already set up. It's not a consequence based as a reaction. It's a predetermined consequence that they set up and you agree to. And so the person might say, okay, if I text this person for whatever reason, I will, clean the whole house. I will, give X money to the political group I don't vote for. I will do 2 miles of leg lunges. If I do it a second time, here's my consequence. The third time, here's my consequences. Okay. Now, if they don't keep their consequences, you would have what we call like a recovery boundary, which is, okay, if you don't do that, then my boundary is going to be X. Okay. And it has to be something that you can't make them do, but something that you can do that might impact them. Sleep in a different room, not do certain things that you normally do, not show up for certain things you might normally show up for. But have a second layer in case they don't do this, because if they have a sexual addiction, especially, they're going to be immature, like, 13, 14, 15 years old, emotionally. So they're going to push boundaries, okay? And they've also set up a system in their mind that there is a secret world. So they've been good at keeping secrets. So part of this is them giving up that idea that there's a secret world. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. So you try to do this together as best you can. They come up with consequences. You agree with them. You set a set of recovery boundaries if they don't keep their consequences, because you don't want to set up a system where they just decide not to do it and there's no pain for them. Because if the pain isn't on the ledger of the perpetrator is not going to change or be affected. And right now, you've taken enough pain as the spouse who's been betrayed. You don't need more pain for them to grow up. If they need to grow up, that needs to be on them 100%. Then the big question comes, Dr. Weiss, how can I know that I know? I'm going to tell you the best thing that can help you with that. And it can save you from micromanaging, putting things on their phone so you know where they are. There's all kinds of ways that people get around these kind of ways you try to keep track of them. And your heart might be right, like, I just want to know that I know where they are. Okay, well then just call them and ask them, okay? They can FaceTime you and show you where they are. You don't have to wonder. So this might sound kind of radical up front, but it has saved thousands of marriages. Because for decades, people have come to the Heart to Heart Counseling Center, done 5-day intensives, and on Monday, the person who's committed the infidelity gets the opportunity to take a polygraph test. Well, a polygraph test is way more objective, and I would say research your polygrapher, because not all polygraphers are created equal. If you're here in my office, I can vouch for that one. And you get the questions you want to know, okay? When was the last time you communicated? When was the last time you had sex? How many people? When did it start? When did it stop? You don't want to get into details, because details are not going to help anybody, but you want to get facts. We call it a factual disclosure. It started here, it ended here, it involved 6 people. The last time was 9 weeks ago. I have not had communication with any of the people I've had sex with outside of marriage. Those are the kinds of questions. And you want a professional to help you architect that. Even if you don't do an intensive, as a spouse, you might want to call and get support for the questions you are going to give, because you want that to be as tight as possible. And we're professionals. We do this all the time. Every week we do polygraphs for decades. So you want to get someone who knows what they're doing, not just a counselor who puts on Psychology Today that they treat infidelity. I can tell you 90% of those people have no training. Just go further into their resume. There's no training. They might have read a book, but there's no training. So they might blame you, tell you got to communicate better, have more sex, wear sexier clothes, try different things, and you're going to think you're crazy, because that is crazy. That puts responsibility back on you that you don't have responsibility for. You can't fix the problem where the problem is not. The problem is not with the person who didn't cheat it. So the polygraph allows honesty. And oftentimes it helps the person with infidelity so much, because if they are getting away with secrets, like suppose there were 6 people, not just 1 or 2, and they keep those other 4 secret, they're not going to be able to be emotionally, spiritually, and sexually open with you as they can be. I can't tell you how many men and women have told me the day after the polygraph was the day they felt the cleanest. And they were able to do the intimacy work and the marriage work that we do in intensives, and they were able to build their marriage because it was built on truth. It was built on facts. It wasn't built on, I'm so smart, I have a secret world, and I'm going to keep it from you, which means I'm going to do it again if I want to. No, with the polygraph, what you do is you do it once, and you get it set up, and then you do it periodically. Depending on the situation, it can be quarterly or 6 months for the first year or 2, and then maybe annually for a couple years. And what it does is it totally removes this whole thing about opportunity and secrecy. That's the combination that infidelity needs. It needs opportunity, a willing partner, okay, and it needs secrecy. Well, we can't get rid of opportunity because, gosh, there's so many apps and crazy things out there to create opportunity for hookups. But what we can do is get rid of secrecy. Well, without secrecy, opportunity doesn't seem so exciting. If you know there's a gun in the 7-Eleven, you're less likely to go in there and try to rob it. If you know that you're going to get caught I can't tell you, at least 1,000 men and some women have told me, if it wasn't for the polygraph, Dr. Weiss, there is no way I would have healed, because it allows them to grow up emotionally and morally to make better choices like an adult. And so when they take that polygraph periodically, they get earned credibility, earned trust, and you can start believing they're honest again in this area of their sexuality. And both people benefit from that. So boundaries, mutual if possible, consequences, okay, mutual and also yours. And then also a polygraph can help kind of lay the foundation of you do know the truth. Because I can tell you, I've worked with a lot of women, over 5,000 women in my career. And if their knower inside of them is going off, that they don't know everything, I'll never forget the story. It was a professional athlete's wife. They went to this expensive, it cost them probably 6 digits for sex addiction treatment inside of a hospital. This was many years ago, maybe 30 years ago now. And she just knew that she didn't know. She did not know the truth. And this was driving her just insane, that he was gaslighting her and telling her, no, you know everything. But she knew she didn't know everything because her knower was telling her that. And so she did some research and found me. It was a one-time visit. They came in, did a polygraph, and he was lying. And then he started to do a more serious recovery program, okay? She knew he was lying. And the polygraph allowed them, they're still married, allowed them to realign what the facts really were and move with integrity down the road. Well, I hope this has been helpful. The video boundaries, it's in the description. I would highly recommend you get that. It can walk you through a lot more. Also, marriage after recovery. There's so many tools, partner betrayal trauma, after infidelity. There's so many products on our website that can help you manage this. But if you're going to seek help, give us a call, 719-278-3708. You want experts in infidelity. This is not something you want to go to a generalist for, because really your future, your kids' future, your family and friends are all depending on this to get the best help possible. And again, if you haven't subscribed, hit the button. If you have a question, put it in the box. And until next time, please do what is best for you.